much for having me here tonight. And but I don't know how much time we have to cover everything related to free will, which is an extremely complicated concept. So we try to make it easy. If you really feel like you're lost, you can flee, no problem. Just stop me anytime, even if you don't understand something I say in English, because if you wonder what part of the English-speaking world I'm from, well, okay, you are even more lost than I thought. You might have some problems sometimes with my, charming Italian inflection, so don't worry about stopping me and ask me for some clarifications. But especially for philosophical issues, let me just tell you that philosophy is not about understanding everything at once. It's just about having some kind of intellectual light at a certain moment, grasping something that looks intellectually beautiful, revealing something. So if even once during this class you will just think, oh great, that's an amazing thing, I kind of like it, okay, that would be a mission accomplished for this talk. So I'm going to mention probably many things you have never heard about. Doesn't matter, don't be afraid of new concepts. Just think of simple ideas. And the simplest one would be just to go away tonight with, from here with an idea, the more precise as possible about free will, what it is, what it means. And I hope we will. So free will is extremely complicated because it involves pretty much everything. So you should have a PhD in philosophy to be able to really understand properly the concept of free will. That's why there are so many things in the handouts I gave to you. And so again, don't worry about them. Whenever we are running out of time, you tell me and we stop. And we talk to one another about it. So let's go. I have my slide there. I'm just kidding. It's the first time I can give orders in my presentation. So okay, let's go to the first slide. So the first slide is just to focus better on the term free will, because my sense is that people usually just think of free will as if it were just freedom. Let's talk about freedom. So actually free will is not freedom. And when I say that free will and freedom are different, I'm not involving the meaning of freedom like political meaning or freedom from external constraints, like somebody just forcing me to stay somewhere I don't want to be in. So that's not my idea. My idea is that freedom and free will, the way I'm going to refer to them, are ontological conditions of our beings, are something related to what we are deeply in our very being. And the reason why they are different, I'm going to explain slowly this reason during the talk. But first of all, let me say, just to get an idea of why this is important, is that technically speaking, God and the angels are as free as we are, even more, but that's not my concern. Conceptually speaking, we share freedom with God and the angels. Whatever you think about the existence of God and the angels, I'm talking about philosophy, so God would be the perfect being and the angels would be beings which exist just as a pure spirit without body, and we would be a mixture, a hybrid, as C.S. Lewis likes to say, like we are animals. But in any case, we are all free, but neither God nor the angels would have free will. They don't. They just don't have free will. So free will is something different that just belongs to us. So that's why we need to get slowly into this concept. And first of all, since probably many of you came here tonight just to, without this kind of distinction in mind, but with the idea of getting to know better what it means for us to be free, my main concern would be exactly not about free will, but about freedom. So what it means deeply to be free. So before doing that, I'll give you some more terminological clarifications with the next slide. Thank you. Just okay. So I tell you something about the ancestors, the ancient words for free will. Free will translates directly from Latin the term liberum arbitrum, which is the first one on the slide. Now, the reason why I mention this is not because I want you to take a Latin course. I mean, that's not my goal, or a Greek course, because the third term on the slide is proairesis, is Greek actually. But the reason is that the Latin term, surprisingly enough, doesn't focus on will. Because will, at least today, because we come from a kind of a modern tradition of thought, philosophical thought, that made will kind of obscure, like totally different than intellect. So will may be just the power of making a decision, right? I mean, the power of the will. But actually, arbitrum, liberum in that sentence means freedom, and it's an adjective of arbitrum. But arbitrum is actually a judgment, it's not will. It focuses more on the rational part of our acting, not on kind of blind part, which might be called to our minds when we focus just on will. So to me, the translation as a free will is not just a bit obscure, because it seems like a short version of the TV show Free Will. But it's also that it doesn't focus properly on the intellect, on our rational decision. Another Latin term, which is kind of synonym of liberum arbitrum, is vis electiva, which again focuses on the rationale of our decision, is focused on selecting. And of course we select reasoning of something. We select between, for example, option A, option B, and option C. But the operation of selecting something is not just a blind decision, it's actually an act of the reason. And so even the Greek term, which would be the most ancient one in Aristotle's philosophy, which is an extremely complicated term, way more complicated than free will, but is of course is involved in free will, would be proairesis, which for Aristotle was kind of monster term, which was a mixture. It's a term that indicates actually our choice. The simplest way to translate the term would be choice, so it would be the ancestor of free will somehow. But it's a mixture between our appetite, our desire for the end, our will, and our intellect, our understanding what we are doing. So Aristotle himself called it kind of intellectual appetite or appetitive intellect, focusing more on the appetitive side of it. And I'm going to explain why this is so. But the main point is this one. When we think about free will or freedom in general, we shouldn't focus on will that much, but on reason and the intellect. And even this difference between reason and the intellect is a technical distinction which I'm going to make later on today. But everything I say is very technical, so don't think that I'm using different words just because I like them, synonyms. I'm actually using words because they all mean different things. So let's go on. Next slide, Tom, quickly. Okay, let's go, as I mentioned to you, to the deepest level of freedom, which again is not about free will. It's about the knowledge of the truth. So what I'm going to try to show you through a kind of thought experiment in a few seconds is that being free and knowing the truth are the same thing. So being free is nothing else than our nature as intellectual beings, the same nature we share with the angels and with God. So, and I'm trying to explain this also focusing on this in this thought experiment on the difference between a free statement and a statement as, which would be a possible outcome of determinism or chance. But the main point is this one. Again, I try to be extremely simple because I understand that just one of you is a philosophy student. But the main point is this one. What I'm going to try to explain or to prove is that being free at the deepest level means just to be able to think, to be able to understand the truth. So, let's go on. Okay, let's focus on this sentence. Every event in nature is caused either by chance or by a strictly deterministic series of previous events. Now, the meaning of the sentence is pretty much clear. It's just stating somehow a truth. And this truth is that everything is either the outcome of determinism or of chance. Now, let's think of this sentence as an event, like everything that might happen in the world. So I come across this sentence. Let's say that I'm hearing this sentence right now in this room. So, thank you. Yeah. Okay. So what might that be? Let's say don't go that fast. So you spoiled the whole thing. You can just. Okay, that's great. So let's go back again. Okay, let's say that I don't want your minds to go too fast. I'm just so let's say that I hear it. And it might be, for example, a mechanical sound made by a computer. Let's say you program your computer so that at a certain hour, right now, you would make this sound. And the sound would sound like this. Every event in nature is caused either by chance or by a strictly deterministic series of previous events. So, this event always happens when a sequence is turned on. I turn on my computer, my software, I click, and this sound happens. Or it may be something else. Okay. So it might be a random event, something that just happened. Maybe the wind blowing through the trees just made this sound. Sometimes we feel like we are hearing something that is like human voice, and it's not. Or maybe a volcano. I mean, this thought experiment might work even with a volcano erupting a kind of chair-like thing. And we might say it's a chair, but is it a chair? Or it's just happened? It's a random event. The volcano didn't think it was a chair when it erupted it. We call it a chair, right? So it's random, right? But the main point is this one. What sense does this sentence make for what it's saying if it is just the outcome of a necessary sequence like a pre-order sequence or a random event? Clearly it doesn't make any sense. So you cannot focus on what it means because strictly speaking it doesn't mean anything. It might have been any different senses. You might have said every event in nature is either Mickey Mouse or a stone erupting by a volcano, or just stone, volcano, Mickey Mouse. It wouldn't make any sense. Because for the sequence to be rightly performed, you don't need a meaning in the content. You need just that the sequence ends with that event. That's it. So, in case A or B, for the sequence or the random event to be happening, you don't need any meaning at all. So there is just one possibility for this sentence here, next slide, to make sense or nonsense. That means there is just one situation which we might wonder whether this sentence is true or false. Because we are not going to talk to the volcano or to the wind or to the computer if it's just performing a sequence about the truth of this sentence. Is it true that the event in nature is caused either by chance or by a deterministic series of events or previous events? Is this true? Would it make sense to ask this question to the computer or to the wind? Of course not, because they didn't think. This just happened. So it's totally different if it is a truth statement. So let's say that actually something else caused this event. A person who actually is trying to make a point.